Hi, everyone, and welcome to Behind the Numbers. My name is Dave Bookbinder, and welcome back to the show where we dig deeper to understand what really matters most in business. Today, I am pleased to welcome an organizational strategist and keynote speaker. His name is H.R. Huntsman, and he's the founder of Leader's Edge. H, welcome to Behind the Numbers.
Dave, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure, my friend.
I've been looking forward to this conversation. Tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what is Leader's Edge.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, come on, I'm not trying to stump you right out of the box here. You got this.
So I began Leader's Edge. So I started my first company when I was 28, nonprofit humanitarian organization. We started from scratch, passion and vision. I didn't know anything about leadership. I wasn't raised in any kind of leadership environment. I was raised in a broken, dysfunctional, alcoholic, abusive home. And joined the military. A guy in the military I met, Captain John Simmons, invited me to take all that pain and make it useful. He says, H, don't be successful. Shoot for useful. So I started my first company. I was 28 from scratch, built it to be quite large, did a lot of work around the world, building orphanages and drilling wells and vegetable gardens and drug and alcohol rehab programs and orphanages and all kinds of wonderful projects where we impacted thousands, hundreds of thousands of lives. But what I fell in love with, Dave, is I fell in love with the developing and scaling of teams. That's what I fell in love with. I wasn't anticipating that. I just stumbled into that. And I began growing the organization. Some of the business leaders that were donor partners began reaching out to me to ask me to help them to build their business. Some of the things I was learning, I began sharing that with them. That eventually, when I retired, led to me starting Leader's Edge, because I believe that leaders change the world. I want to impact the world. I want to make the world a better place. I believe, and I've seen leaders around the world doing that, whether in villages in Kenya or boardrooms here in the States. So Leader's Edge was built and designed, founded and designed to impact leaders and workplaces around the country.
That's an amazing backstory. And with Leader's Edge, H, are you working with established leaders, aspiring leaders, up-and-coming leaders, all of the above?
Both, all of the above. Yeah. We love a combination of getting a team in the room that has, the CEO or founder or president of the company, along with their leadership team, aspiring leaders. We love that combination. My deepest passion is developing teams of leaders to impact workplaces around the world.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you why that matters so much. But before I ask you that question, I just want to give you my quick 2 cents on this, because if you've listened to this program before at home, you've heard me talking about connecting the dots between leadership, employee engagement, and how that translates into profitability and ultimately business valuation. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you the mic, H.
Yeah, I believe. So again, it's a lot of it stems from my background of this, this broken home. And if I didn't have someone invest in me, I mean, there's no telling. If I didn't have someone who saw something in me more than I saw in myself, I don't know where my life would have been. So to have a handful of people look at me and see some diamond in the rough, something that could be, and that's meaningful to me. I'm humbled by that. I'm honored by that. And without those people in my life, I could never have, achieved some of the things and experienced some of the things I've been able to experience and achieve. So I believe, and I've said for years, that the greatest waste in history is a waste of human potential. So I'm out to dedicate my life to helping uncover, discover, release the unbelievable human potential that's out there that is often hidden, and bringing that out in the workplace. And the reason I've chosen the workplace is because we spend about 90,000 waking hours in the workplace, and it should be a place of meaning and purpose and potential, where we're discovering what we're capable of, where leaders are releasing innovation and creativity. And oftentimes it's not that. It's drudgery and boring. It doesn't have to be that way. And so I'm dedicated whatever the remainder of my life is to help workplaces just uncover and release amazing talent, because it's there.
Yeah, well, let's start doing that right now. And I definitely appreciate the backstory and your passion and mission here. When you and I first met, you'd said something about creative conflict being could be the missing piece to an organization's growth and development.
Yeah.
Help us to understand, number one, how do you define creative conflict, and how does that lead to growth?
So what happens in most organizations is there becomes a status quo. It's just the way that we do things around here. Whether the founder or the president, was good at whatever, building widgets, and we designed widgets and we build widgets, and there's this culture of widget development, and it's been this way for X amount of years. The company's growing due to that person's creativity and drive and passion, and we're developing this sales team and R&D team and everybody else team. And along with that team are ideas of how we could do this better as we've scaled and grown. But we've always done widgets this particular way. And there's no real need to interrogate that or challenge that, because obviously we're successful here at, Widgets Incorporated. And what we've discovered with what we call creative conflict is that the best way to uncover and discover the latent innovation and creativity in the workplace is you have to go get it. You have to provide space and psychological safety for people to say, "Hey, Dave, I've got an idea about this whole widget deal. I wonder if now I know we've done it this way before, but I wonder if we could consider, this change or this improvement." And how people react to, "Hey, I've got an idea," or "I'm not sure this is the best way to do that," defines and decides whether we're a culture of innovation or if we're a culture of status quo. So creative conflict means when people say, "Hey, Dave, sir, ma'am, I've got an idea," how the culture responds to that. And a good culture not only allows that, but actually cultivates that, actually provides space for that and goes after that. Does anybody have any idea of how we could do this widget deal any better? I feel like there's got to be some ways we could, now that we've grown or times have changed or the talent pool has changed, technology has changed, there's ways to do this better, and allowing for discussion where there could be tension, there should be differing ideas, and creating an idea meritocracy where everyone hones and sharpens and inputs and the best ideas float to the surface. That's creative conflict. And that's what's missing in a lot of organizations that is keeping them at mediocre.
Yeah, and as soon as you hear the word conflict, you cringe, because we're trained to avoid conflict
That's
as
right.
best we can, right?
That's right.
So throwing the word creative in front of it gives it a little bit of a softening effect.
Yeah.
And recognition, rewards, encouragement for these types of things is certainly essential for creating that innovation inside organizations.
Right.
But when you're asking people for it, how do you draw it out of them? I mean, you laid the foundation, right? You've got to have psychological safety in place, but help our audience understand what that really means, so that when somebody's in a room or in a conversation and you're asking them, "So what do you think?" that they're really being candid with you.
Yeah, first, let's go back to what you said about avoiding conflict. You're absolutely right. When we introduce this to all the clients we talk to, they think, "Well, we don't want conflict in the workplace. We avoid it at all costs." In psychology, we talk about two different types of conflict in the organization. There's personality conflict. This is what most people think of when they think of conflict. You and I butt heads. We just don't agree on things. We had a run-in in the past. You ate my lunch out of the refrigerator, or, whatever it is. You and I just kind of butt heads. And so that personality conflict lowers productivity. It decreases, the energy in our culture. So when people think about conflict, that's normally what they think about. So the first thing we do is differentiate between personality conflict and what psychologists call idea conflict, or we call creative conflict. Idea conflict is where you and I can disagree about an idea, but it doesn't affect our relationship in the slightest. And the underlying mission here is, for the good of the organization, we're going to work on, hone, sharpen this particular idea through creative conflict. You have an idea, I challenge it, we come at it from different angles. Susie jumps in, Jennifer jumps in with their accounting has this to say and marketing has this to say about it. Have you considered this thing from the client's perspective? And now with the good of the idea and the good of the company in mind, we all can pitch in and sharpen and hone, and we can leave there unscathed personally, because it's not about us, it's about the idea. And so that is a foundation. It's not about us. We're not going to attack each other. We're going to all work on shaping and molding and sculpting this idea that's now sitting in the middle of the room. So that's the first thing, as we talk about what that is for the good of the company.
Yeah, interestingly, I'm sorry, I stepped on you there.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, all you.
And then we talk about the two S's. The one is you have to have space for it, and then safety, the psychological safety. Space, a lot of small to mid-sized companies tell us, H, this thing that you described, we're just too busy. We're too busy for this. And I will shoot back and I'll say, what you're telling me is you're too busy for innovation. You're too busy for creativity. You're too busy for improvement. Is that what you're telling me? No, we want all that stuff. And I said, well, how do you intend on that happening then? Apart from creating space to have these conversations, how do you intend for that to happen? And they've not really put those two together. So creating space on the calendar where we, hey, everybody, I want you to bring your best idea around new marketing to this target market in, X region or whatever it is, or we have this new software technology, and bring your best ideas and how to leverage that for client acquisition. So whatever the thing is, you just set the grenade in the room and say, okay, everybody, let's go. And you just begin. Now it requires a good facilitator, but space. And then of course, we've already talked about the safety. I have to trust that you're my boss. I have to trust, Dave, that when I disagree with you, there's not going to be any ramifications whatsoever. You're not going to hold it. You're not going to shun me. You're not going to give me the silent treatment. It's not going to come up in my review. All those cultural things that happen in the mediocre workplaces, I have to trust that I can truly be open, or this thing's not going to work. You're going to get my guarded answer, what I think you want to hear.
Yeah, so the savvy leader understands that you've got to do that to cultivate the environment where you're going to get those kinds of ideas. You've got to put the ego aside too. And somewhere within the ego component is the whole leader mindset.
Yeah.
And I know that you're a big believer that mindset really is the cornerstone of all of this stuff.
For sure. Yeah, I have a military background. I was in the Air Force for a while. And so I'll tell all these leaders, you leave your rank at the door. You have to leave your rank at the door. You have to consciously strip yourself of your rank as president or founder or CEO or whatever it is, departmental supervisor. You have to strip yourself of the rank and just focus on the idea. What's the merit of the idea? It doesn't matter where it comes from, the newest intern, president, it doesn't matter where it comes from. This is all about the ideas. And you're right, we have to consciously put our ego on the floor, especially when we're challenged. Those of us that may be in leadership, we've been around a while, we tend to run back to rank. We tend to run back to rank when we're challenged, and I have to challenge myself, and then all these leaders we work with, I have to challenge them. Don't run back to rank. Don't run back to position. Really focus on the idea. Focus on the idea itself, even if it's not your idea, especially when it's not your idea.
Yeah, so when we talk mindset, there's a whole lot of head trash that goes on inside of the leaders' heads. Certainly the folks that I've interviewed and met with and worked with. Most of that is just the negative self-talk, because that's the way we've been taught to grow up. How do you break through that and instill a mindset that's really geared towards success?
Yeah. One of the things that I had to overcome, again, I don't come from a leadership background, so I had an idea that leadership meant I was supposed to have all the answers. So when I started my first company, that John Wayne kind of mindset of the lone wolf, the savior to everybody, the answer person. In my mind, that was what a leader was, this towering figure. And I was 28. I didn't know anything about anything. So, but you're supposed to be, I thought you're supposed to be this towering figure of answers. And the leaders who think that, then we put ourselves in the corner, we box ourselves in, that when we're challenged, like that insecurity, that imposter syndrome rises up, like, oh, I'm not the leader I'm supposed to be. I don't have all the answers. I don't know how to figure this out. And so one of the first mindset shifts that has to happen, Dave, in my opinion, is a leader has to realize that leader doesn't mean have all the answers. Leader means creating a culture, create an opportunity for the best answers to be found. They don't have to originate in me. What I need to do is create the culture where that can be found. So I encourage all the leaders I work with, you're a multiplier of ideas. You're a multiplier of leaders. In my view, the mindset of leadership is someone who creates other leaders, creates great ideas, creates great innovation. So I think that's the first mindset shift that has to take place is what does being a leader mean? I'm the source of everything, or I'm the facilitator of this amazing culture.
Yeah, and there was a stat that I had mentioned in one of my books about leadership development management training, and it goes something like this: in the course of a career, someone is typically promoted into the role of a manager of people around the age of 31, and they don't get their first leadership training, formal training, until about a decade later.
Isn't that crazy?
So yeah. So look, when you're a doer and you grow up because you're successful in your career because you're able to get stuff done, that doesn't mean you're necessarily qualified to lead people.
Boy, isn't that the truth? So sitting with a client in Nevada early last year, and they were stagnant and just all the things. And there's a construction manufacturing company, and just all the things that we encounter, just kind of stuck and disconnected and disjointed and not good communication across departments. And I did my first set of assessments our first month, and month 2 I come back to them, I say, now this is just our second time we've been together, and I say to them, what I'm seeing is a room of producers sitting in the seats where leaders need to be sitting. I said that out loud the second time we're together. A room of exactly what you said, Dave. A room of high producers, hard workers, good men and women, but they had a production mindset, not a leadership mindset. And I said, this company is going to remain where it is unless these key directors shift their mindset. And if you 12 aren't able to go from a production mindset to a leadership multiplying mindset, we're stuck. So either the producers in this room become leaders, or we're going to have to shift seats and move leaders into these seats. And that was a challenging conversation. And most of them rose to that challenge and have really begun to hone and sharpen their skills as leaders. But you're absolutely right. Producers don't necessarily become leaders.
Yeah, and let's talk about a tangent that's related to what you just described, and that's the word accountability.
Yeah.
Everybody likes the word.
Yeah.
Some people don't recognize that it's a two-way street. Talk about accountability. How do you create meaningful accountability inside an organization?
Dave, you hit on the head the thing that we're asked about most in today's culture with the talent pool, what it is, the labor market, the way it is. Number one question CEOs ask as they come to us and say, H, can you help us improve accountability with our team? Now, I automatically know a couple things when I'm asked that is that CEO or leader most likely doesn't have a good concept of human motivation and what drives accountability, and it's not extrinsic. They're looking for some sort of bonus deal or some sort of extrinsic exterior thing to motivate people. Can we get beanbags in the break room or whatever it is? So it's the first thing I recognize that CEO probably doesn't understand. And they haven't done the hard work that leads to great accountability, which is, I always teach this, connection precedes direction. Connection precedes direction. Connection precedes accountability. So if you want accountability and great results, you have to do the hard work of good connection first and understanding people and what drives motivation, mastery, autonomy, purpose. Those things, these underlying deep things that all of us as humans need. We want to be connected to something larger. We want to have competence in our skill set. We want to be connected. We want to have autonomous. We want to have voice. We want to know that we have a say in our own direction in the future. So accountability, which is the delivering of excellence, that's how we define it. I deliver excellence to the team. That happens when I'm given, this surrounding or this culture where I can become my very best.
Yeah, and part of the role of the leader, I think, has to be lifelong learning. The on the job training only gets you so far. You've got to learn from other role models and take in as much input as you can. And one of the things you just mentioned in your last bit there was the idea of mission and purpose, and I hear that a lot inside of organizations, and everybody wants it from top to bottom and bottom to top. It's not just a one-off thing. So, what's your advice for leaders and aspiring leaders to actually build the mission and messaging into the DNA of the organization to drive the culture that you're talking about?
Edward Deci and Richard Ryan back in the 60s and 70s, they're the ones that came up with self-determination theory, SDT. And Deci is the one who coined the term intrinsic motivation. One of the things they found there that we coin as purpose, they coin as relatedness, is this human need in each of us to be connected to something larger than ourselves. There's just something in us there that desires to be connected to something larger, and we call it purpose. So what great leaders do is they find a way to weave and tell the story of the organization. Here's what whether you're a law firm or a manufacturing company or whatever you are, you're doing something noble and good for society. You are. Every business we work with is doing something noble and good for society. And weaving that story into your staff meetings, your coaching sessions, your mentoring, your onboarding, your hiring, your all-team meetings, continually reminding us that what we do matters. So when you are working on that widget, it's a part of this much larger story. And thank you, Dave, for making amazing widgets, because those widgets helped change the Jones family. The Jones family came to us and they needed a home, and your part in that is significant. Now, there's a second part to this, Dave. It's not only the mission and purpose of the organization, but it's yours as well. What does Dave want? What is Dave striving for? Are you trying to buy your first home, or do you want more vacation time, or put the grandkids to college, and what the great leaders do is they're able to weave the mission and purpose of the organization with your personal desires, goals, and dreams. The great leaders that do that, they're the ones that see engagement just skyrocket. In fact, a poll just came out probably 6 months ago now that compared what they call purpose-driven companies to task-driven companies that are just about the checklist, just get the work done, we pay you what we pay you, that should be enough, just go do your job. The engagement at purpose-driven companies was 80%. 80% of the workforce was highly engaged with the mission of the organization. In the task-driven companies, only about 40% of the workforce was engaged. That's obviously 100% increase. I mean, there's an ROI to this of taking the time to connect people to purpose and mission.
Yeah, and globally, the statistics that I've been looking at for like the last 15 years are pretty consistent that about 1/3 of the global workforce shows up engaged at work.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's sad. So if you can do anything that's going to move the needle on engagement, it's going to drive performance. And there's a ton of empirical data that shows that the companies that have the engaged workforces are outperforming their peers. Stock price, profitability, safety, turnover, all the key metrics.
Right.
So we talked about mission and purpose. What other things would you recommend, H, that leaders can be thinking about to help foster that type of culture and engagement?
Oh, training. Go back to the M in map to success, mastery, training, onboarding. I mean, we preach endlessly really good onboarding. There's so much data around retention and onboarding, engagement and onboarding, that first 90 days. Really focus on that first 90 days. We break it down a little bit different. Most people talk about onboarding as 30, 60, 90. We break it down differently. First day, first week, first month, first quarter. What are you doing your first day? We call that celebration. What are you doing first week? That's introduction. First month is integration. First quarter is production. So really give those some thoughts. So be really intentional about your onboarding program for new hires, or when you're cross-training from one department to another, that's an onboarding opportunity as well. And then what does your ongoing training look like? Because mastery, which is competence, when I feel confident about my skill set, I'm going to produce a much higher quality product because I feel better about it. So when we talk about what drives accountability, one of the greatest drivers of accountability is confidence in my competence. So creating training programs for people to increase their skill set and hone their skill set is one of the greatest things an organization can do. In fact, everywhere we go, we preach this. I want you to begin thinking of yourselves as a training organization that specializes in construction or law or medicine or whatever it is. If you'll think of yourself as a training organization that specializes and excels in your industry, that's going to change everything. So good onboarding and training programs drive engagement through the roof.
Yeah, interesting. And as you were saying that, I was thinking that confidence is the memory of success.
And that's good. I like that.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you that I came up with that, but I didn't. I don't remember where it came from, but I heard that before. Yeah, I see you writing that down.
I'm writing that down. I'm going to steal that.
No, by all means, it's not mine, so have at it. So we're getting down to the short strokes here. The time has gone so quickly, but I want to ask you to tell us what the Leader's Edge performance engine is, and maybe can you share a couple of success stories with us and how you've helped some clients turn around their organizations?
So again, started my first company when I was 28, learned a lot of what not to do, begin to build teams, and I begin to really, especially when companies begin to ask me for help, I have, because of my dad, who was literally a rocket scientist, my dad worked for NASA, part of my brain is really equipped and geared towards systems. So I began looking at all these different companies, and I began realizing there's some similarities across the board. So eventually that led to, after about 30 years, led to me looking at, there's about 6 systems in every organization. It doesn't matter the industry. There are 6 systems. We call the foundation system, the team building system, the strategy system, the performance system, the efficiency systems around process, and the profit system. And so around these 6 systems, that's the engine, these 6 gears. Around these 6 systems, we developed some framework to have conversations around vision, mission, and values, and onboarding and training, value prop, value chain, accountability, all the different things that are necessary to put it in a framework that's just much easier to see and understand and for us to teach. And so that became what we call the Leaders Edge Performance Engine, ENGINE. Each one of those stands for one of those 6 systems. Get them all working together, all those gears working together, and you have a high-performing, high-functioning machine. So we go into companies and we'll spend a year or 2 with them. We come in once a month and we'll work on this system for a couple months and this system for a couple months, having these great creative conflict conversations, pulling ideas out of them. We don't bring their ideas. We often don't know what they do. We don't need to know what they do. We pull great conversations out of them. They create their own playbook, and now they are highly engaged and they own and they're accountable to what they have built.
And where can people find you if they want to learn more about you and how they can work with you?
Sure. Just I'm a very personal guy. You can email me, hr@yourleadersedge.com. You can check us out. Our website is yourleadersedge.com. I'd love to have a conversation if you're looking to take your organization to the next level.
Yeah, it certainly would be a worthwhile conversation, as was this. I really enjoyed having you on the program. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Dave. It's an honor. Keep up the great work. I really appreciate and respect what you do, and thank you for the time.
Thank you so much. That really means a lot, and it means a lot to me that you out there in the audience are listening and supporting this program. Just a quick humble brag, we were recently named the #1 business valuation podcast to follow in 2025. That's an honor I never would have imagined. I'm super grateful for that. So thank you. My name is Dave Bookbinder, and until next time, I'm here to remind you that the numbers tell the story, but the people bring it to life. Take care, everybody.